Hello, and welcome to Longbox Review, a comic book podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and I am here to give you a special episode of the show. This is to commemorate Jack King Kirby's 100th birthday. Jack Kirby is the prolific and fantastic artist. Many people know his work from his collaborations with Stan Lee at Marvel Comics. He, of course, helped create Captain America with Joe Simon, along with a bunch of other characters. And he also did a bunch of work at DC Comics and other places over the years. He was born in August 28th, 1917, and died in February of 1994. I'm not going to give you a long history of Jack's time in comics, nor getting into the depth of his comic book contributions. Go listen to Comic Geek Speak episode 1633 for a spotlight, a part one of the spotlight that they did. And you can find out a lot from that episode about Kirby's life and his career. What this episode is about, and what I'm going to talk about, are my favorite Jack Kirby concepts, characters and concepts, mostly characters, but some concepts thrown in as well. So let's just get right into it. I will start off with saying that Kirby is not. When I first started getting into comics, I didn't really know about Jack Kirby or any of his comic book collaborations or creations. In fact, when I first encountered his work, his art, it was in one of the DC digests that I had bought around 1980. I think it was. And I have to admit, I wasn't, this is going to sound heretical to a lot of people, but I wasn't impressed. I was never, and as I grew older and read more comics and saw more of Kirby's work, I have to admit, I was not a big Kirby fan. I just didn't care for his work. You know, I really gravitated towards more realistic, quote unquote, comic book art. I'm thinking of George Perez, specifically. It's only been in the last several years where I really came to appreciate what Kirby gave to the comic book world. Specifically to superheroes. He created a language in comic books that wasn't there before, and many have been trying to emulate ever since. So, I recognize his contributions. I recognize his greatness. I just didn't really care for his style. And like I said, though, in the last several years, I have come around to really appreciating what I see on the page that Kirby offered. I found a quote or a quote here from this is according to Wikipedia from Brent Staples in a New York Times op-ed piece written about Jack Kirby after his death. Kirby, Staples said, created a new grammar of storytelling and a cinematic style of motion. Once wooden characters cascaded from one frame to another, or even from page to page, threatening to fall right out of the book into the reader's lap. The force of punches thrown was visibly and explosively evident. Even at rest, a Kirby character pulsed with tension and energy in a way that makes movie versions of the same characters seem static by comparison. And I thought that was a pretty damn good explanation or overview of the contributions that Kirby made, his style, his panache. It's good stuff. And I wanted to, celebrate Jack Kirby's birthday here with this episode. Like I said, by going over my favorite Kirby concepts, I'll just talk about them real briefly, and then you can let me know what you think and what your favorites were. But to start off with, It's the world of Commandy. Not Commandy himself, but the world of Commandy. Commandy, of course, was a creation of Kirby's at DC Comics. First appeared in Commandy issue number 1 in 1972. My introduction to Commandy himself and his world, I guess, was in Crisis on Infinite Earths, drawn by George Perez. Interesting, the connections there. But I didn't read a lot of Commandy. I actually didn't really find the character all that compelling in Crisis. But I have been reading a few things over the years. Most recently, the Commandy Challenge that DC is currently, as of August 2017, is putting out. And just the world of Commandy, the craziness, that future, that possible future, the great disaster happened, and Commandy is the last boy on Earth. But it's all of the crazy Planet of the Apes type situation that we have. We've got all these different talking animals and their personalities and the worlds in which they inhabit. That just stuff was just crazy fun, and it really makes me now want to go read a bunch more of Commandy, or at least read it to get more of that world. Next, I have Clarion the Witch Boy, who first appeared in The Demon number 7, which I did not know until I started researching this. Clarion, I don't quite remember the first time I experienced that character in comics. I do recall, however, that it was in Grant Morrison's Seven Soldiers of Victory series back in 2005 that I read, that I really kind of fell in love with the character. But I know that that version of the character isn't quite what Kirby put on the page. And I have to admit, a lot of these characters that I'm going to talk about, that's the case. My introduction to them were through the lens of other people emulating Kirby to some degree, or trying a different take on the characters that Kirby created. For good or bad. I'm not making judgments as to whether those things are better than what Kirby did, or Kirby stuff is lesser or better. It's just, this is how it is. This was my experience with these characters as I was reading comics. So anyway, Clarion the Witch Boy, I really like this kid, this witch boy, and his cat. I think it was Teakle, right? Was the name of the cat. Anyway, like I said, I think I first really glommed onto the character because of Grant Morrison's Seven Soldiers of Victory series. There was a really cool guest appearance in the Stephanie Brown Batgirl number 18, issue number 18, that Clarion was in. It was I think a Valentine's Day special type thing where Clarion was supposedly in love with Stephanie, if I remember correctly. But it was really his appearance in the Young Justice cartoon that solidified the fact that I love Clarion the Witch Boy. That portrayal was just really cool. He's a mischievous, potentially deadly foe of any superhero character, or anyone else really for that matter. But yeah, I really like him. And I look forward to seeing more appearances by the Witch Boy. Next up is Galactus. Of course, the big one, the big guy, literally the big guy. Of course, Galactus first appeared in Fantastic Four number 48, I believe. And I mean, come on. Galactus, right? I mean, he's the devourer of worlds. He's this bombastic, larger than life, literally character that appeared in the Fantastic Four comics and other series. I'm reading Galactus the Lifebringer, which is a reinterpretation of, or a transformation. That's what I wanted to say. Transformation of this character, where he no longer devours worlds, but he helps bring them back to life, which I thought was a really cool like I said, transformation or progression of the character from where he began. But man, you look at those old Fantastic Four issues where he first appeared, and just the stuff that goes along with Galactus, his spaceship and just great stuff. I'm going to talk about a little more of that kind of stuff later, but Galactus is always a lot of fun whenever he appears. I mentioned Demon issue number 7. Well, the Demon character himself is on my list next. He first appeared in the Demon number 1, which I actually have in my collection. Along with Fantastic Four 49 and 50, I have those two. In better condition than the Demon number 1, but anyway, the Demon number 1, like I said, introduces the character along with his other identity, Jason Blood. But my first experience with the Demon, and like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier, Jack Kirby's art and storytelling was from a reprint of the Demon number 1 or at least a portion of it, in one of the DC digests. And I think it was DC Special Blue Ribbon Digest number 5. It was The Secret Origins of Superheroes that I saw him in. And I remember when I read that, this is back in 1980, like I said, I just remember looking at the pages, those little teeny tiny digest pages, and going, this is really different from everything else. And I wasn't sure I liked it, but I knew it was impressive. I just didn't realize until years later how so. And the Demon, again, just like Clarion the Witch Boy, the Demon I have grown to love in other interpretations, other appearances, especially in the animated world of DC Comics. The next character on my list is a relatively new one. It's the Sandman, the Garrett Sanford version from Sandman number 1 from 1974. I think I first encountered this character, or a version of this character, in Neil Gaiman's Sandman. I think it was issue number 12, where Hector Hall took on the role of Kirby's version of Sandman, and I, with those characters Brute and Glob, I believe, and I just was struck by how this Sandman looked with that red and yellow costume, which actually, now that I think about it, that's the Demon too. The Demon had yellow skin and wore the red tights with the cape and the booties. So interesting parallels there. More recently, I think I read something in the Commandy Challenge. Say that 5 times fast. The Commandy Challenge special. I think there was a reprint story in there, and I remember really liking that. I thought, out of everything that I've been reading of Kirby, the Sandman stuff is probably one of the more interesting things. It was really crazy stuff. So now I'm really interested in reading more of Kirby's Sandman. I did did order, I haven't read it yet at the time of this recording, but I did order the DC Sandman special that they're putting out this year, 2017, for Kirby's 100th birthday celebration. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Another red and yellow connection is the next character on my list, Mr. Miracle. I think I first saw Mr. Miracle on a DC Comics Presents cover. I think that was issue number 12. And I remember thinking, that's an interesting costume. The red and yellow and the green. And more importantly, the full head mask that covers Mr. Miracle's head, but you still see his eyes, his nose, and his mouth very clearly, as if he's not wearing a mask. So that was an interesting choice, very different, very striking. But then you also have the really cool aspect of the character that he's an escape artist. He also withstood the rigors and trials of Apocalypse and still came out of it a pretty okay guy. And then, of course, along with Big Barda, eventually his wife. I don't think they were married at first. Anyway, Big Barda is another character that I really, really like of Kirby's. The other Kirby concept on this list is Kirby Crackle and the Kirby circuitry in his designs. I mean, Kirby Crackle is, famous among us comic book lovers. There's even a band named after the concept of Kirby Crackles. And but this is really just speaking to Kirby's dynamism in his art and his designs, which were just crazy fun. I love the whenever you see Kirby Crackle in the background, just shouts cosmic to you on the page. And then you have all these designs, with Galactus and the ships and just things on like New Gods costumes and mother boxes and stuff like that. The circuitry patterns and it's just wacky, crazy, cosmic fun, and I really love that stuff. And based on what I read, again, this is just real quick stuff that I read online. The origins of the Kirby Crackle, or Kirby Dots, as they're sometimes called, came around like 1965, 1966 time in Fantastic Four and Thor comics. But it's one of the things I really like about Kirby and what he provided to us. And then finally, on my list of favorite Kirby concepts, I just mentioned New Gods. It's Darkseid, or as I used to call him, Darkseid. Whenever I saw Darkseid's name printed, in my head I pronounced it Darkseid until I watched the Super Friends legendary superpower show from 1984, when I first heard it pronounced Darkseid. And I tell you what, that took me a while to get used to that, to flip my brain to call him Darkseid. Anyway, let's see. Just real quick, Darkseid had a cameo in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 134 in 1970, and then he made his first full-fledged appearance in Forever People number 1, 1971. Again, these are things I pulled off Wikipedia, so I hope they're right. I mostly love Darkseid and came to know Darkseid from his appearance in the Legion of Superheroes, the Great Darkness Saga, in issues 290 through 294 of the series from 1982. And I already mentioned the Superpower show. Darkseid, again, much like Clarion, I really fell in love with the character because of his appearances in various animated series, including Superman the Animated Series and the Justice League cartoons. Especially, I mean, that whole through line from the Superman Animated Series episodes continues all the way through Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and I love that. Those episodes are just so fantastic. Anyway, you should go watch those if you haven't. It's a really cool story. And then when the New 52 launched, I thought, and it's maybe obvious to a lot of people, and it kind of was to me too, but I loved that when they relaunched the DC Universe and the Justice League got together, who was the big bad that they fought against? Darkseid. I thought that was a really cool change, a really cool addition to the Justice League mythos instead of being Starro. Anyway, yeah, I just, and not only was Darkseid the antagonist for the Justice League on the New 52 Earth, but he was also the guy who basically destroyed Earth 2 and actually was responsible for the death of, we thought at first, Superman and then Batman and Wonder Woman. So, he's not only a force to be reckoned with in one universe, he was almost Galactus-like in another one. So just a really cool concept. One of my favorite villains of all time, Darkseid. So that's all I have. It was just something I wanted to throw together out there to honor Jack Kirby's 100th birthday, and to say thank you for his contributions. And like I said, go listen to the Comic Geek Speak episode 1633 for their spotlight on his career, and learn a lot more about Kirby than I will ever be able to tell you. But, like I said, this was just a quick list, my favorite things about Kirby, and I hope you enjoyed that. And I would be very curious what your favorite things about Kirby's contributions to comics were or are. And you can let me know that by emailing me at longboxreview@gmail.com. You can also leave comments at the website, longboxreview.com, or message me at Twitter at longboxreview. I would really appreciate the feedback, and happy birthday, Jack.